like to talk about what you would see in the difference between a high-performing, effective school and a low-performing, ineffective school. You took educators from both campuses and you sat them down and you asked them, what would you consider to be your highest yielding instructional practice? It's amazing how, regardless of what campus you're from, you're going to label the same things. But the difference between a high-performing effective school and a low-performing ineffective school is the consistency at which you see that effective practice going on, regardless of who the students are and regardless of who the teacher is. In high-performing schools, there's very little variability and you see the same type of high effective instruction room to room, day to day. In an ineffective low-performing school, you're going to see a greater degree of variability regardless of the teacher, regardless of the student, and you may even see from time to time no activity at all. So I thought it's a good time of year for us to go back and let's take a look at what we consider to be our best practice of effective instruction at East Central High School. Let's go take a look. Believe it or not, the very first piece of effective instruction begins right here at the teacher's desk, and that's through very deliberate and designed lessons. It's rooted in your TEKS. It's utilizing every resource that's available, starting first with your design team and your fellow teachers that teach the same content. It's grounded in our TCMPC, looking at your instructional focus documents. It's in knowing your students and what their different ability levels are and readiness levels are, and understanding the necessary supports and scaffolds. It's designing and implementing a minute-by-minute plan of instruction with contingencies built in to allow you to pivot and maneuver. It's very thoughtful questions that you're going to be asking to test the effectiveness of the teaching. It's also grounded in your learning target, and it starts there with understanding what it is that students need to know and be able to do, why it's valuable for them to know and be able to do it, and then how you're going to measure and evaluate their learning. So, effective instruction begins here first, and that's in the planning process. Believe it or not, a second piece to effective instruction starts here in the hallway during the passing periods as students are entering your room. It's amazing what a fist bump or a handshake or just a warm smile to your students and a greeting as they come in the door can do a lot to build relationships and human connection points. It allows you to see what their readiness level is going to be like for the day, as well as their moods. Plus, some teachers actually use it as a way to check for understanding before they come in the door. So, effective instruction, believe it or not, starts here in the hallway. It's just not something administrators ask you to do to help us to supervise students. It's a piece of effective instruction. So after you've planned and after you've greeted your students at the door, the third most important piece to effective instruction also means your routines. When students walk in the door, the work is ready for them to receive. It tells them exactly what to do when they come in. While the class is going on, they know where they can access any work that they may have missed in the previous days or where they need to turn in their assignments, as well as they know if they need a resource, they know how to get to. So you're not spending your time having to tell them how to do that. As well as at the end of class, you have routines to exit back out. A big piece of that is how you review and recap the learning at the end of the day. The most ineffective thing that we can ever do as an exit routine is to line up at the door. So, effective instruction is rooted in strong routines to maximize your instructional minutes to meet our mission of every student, every minute, every day. Also, effective instruction has a learning target posted in the classroom every day, and it contains a what, a how, and a why. But most importantly, this learning target is reviewed before the learning begins, while the learning is taking place, and after the learning. It contains a high-level verb that actually connects to the task that students are utilizing, and it guides the teacher and it guides the student and where their learning journey is going to take them on that day. So effective instructional environments, classroom to classroom, day to day, every room has a warm-up. When students enter the room, are warmly greeted by their teacher at the door, they know what items and materials to pick up, grab their journal, they sit down, and begin right away on the warm-up. It is an excellent way to get your class going, build neural connections, and get the room settled in for that day's learning journey. So effective instruction environments have a warm-up every day. Effective instruction has purposeful reading every day. Effective instruction has timed writing every day. Another high effective instructional practice that should be seen across the campus from room to room, teacher to teacher, is the utilization of timers. Timers give us a definite amount of time to either read, write, speak, or problem solve. It helps to keep us focused and it helps to keep the learning progressing forward. It's amazing how when you utilize timers for your warm-ups, while students are doing problem solving, while students are collaborating with each other, it helps to keep everyone focused and moving in the right direction. So this is our instructional framework. We've talked about a warm greeting at the door. We've talked about the importance of lesson planning. But let's also talk about after they come in and they follow the strong entry routine to maximize on your minutes, they gather all the materials and items that they're going to need for the day. They go and they sit down. They start right away on their warm-up. As you transition from the warm-up, you take them right to the learning target and you review the learning target with your students, whether you have your students read it out loud or whether you read it out loud or whether you have your students write it. You have a way that every day you're connecting them to their learning target. The next part of our basic instructional framework is the I do and the we do portion. The I do is I am modeling the learning for them today. After I've done the I do, it's the we do together. So we're getting an opportunity to do some kind of guided practice. Whether I'm doing the I do or the we do, I am checking their understanding every 2 to 7 minutes. And when I'm doing that, I'm using highly effective, high leveraging, total participation techniques where any student at any time can be called on and I'm requiring them all to think every single time. So whether I'm using dry erase boards and they're having to give me the responses, or whether they're using student response clickers, or you have them connected to some type of technology where they're having to put their answers in anonymously, you're checking the students for understanding and you're actually checking the effectiveness of the teaching. Sometime in the middle of the learning, you want to go back to the learning target. You want to review that again with your students. You want to make sure you connect them back to it. After that, you do the you do together. It's an opportunity for them to collaborate. Use purposeful talk. You can give them a different type of activity utilizing sentence stems. They can do teach pieces with each other, but you found an effective way that you're allowing students to speak through the learning. The next part is the you do alone. This is where it gets down to the independent practice piece. Again, while you've done the you do together and you do alone, you are constantly checking students for understanding every 2 to 7 minutes so you can pivot and maneuver to see if you need to go back and do anything to reteach or to support struggling learners or to help those that are already the advanced learners using some of those same strategies that I talked about before. And again, there's over 1,000 ways that you can do that, but you want to make sure that you're checking students for understanding every 2 to 7 minutes. Throughout this piece, some things that are really important. The reading part, the writing part, the speaking, the listening, and the problem solving. After you've done this, you get down to your exit routines. So how do you roll out as they're trying to prepare to get ready for the end of class, putting their calculators up, putting different things away? Where do I put my assigned work? When I get to my exit routine, I want to have some type of cool down phase. Now my cool down phase, I want to go back to reviewing the learning target again, even if I have the opportunity to preview tomorrow's learning. And the last thing is I want to do a final test of the teaching. So before the bell rings and before students leave, I want to give them some type of task, some type of thinking that is also assessing the effectiveness that the teaching had that day. Some teachers use exit tickets, some ask them to do a short writing prompt, some ask them to write down one thing they learned today, or they go around the room and require every student to tell them, but they have some type of cool down activity every single class period. And then the last thing that happens is the bell. Again, we've talked about this best instructional practice containing the following tenets of instruction.